So I've got a new setup. I wanted to show off my new Star Wars poster, but I accidentally put it right behind my head. Pretty poor plan on my part, I guess. So today I watched a movie. I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. So usually I'm not really a big fan of horror. Honestly, I really usually hate horror films. I get surprised really easily, I get scared really easily, so I don't watch very many horror films. But I decided to expand my horizon, so I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street, which I absolutely loved. I'd probably have to say it's my favorite horror film of all time, honestly. The film is about a group of kids who all get terrorized in their dreams by a guy named Freddy Krueger who can kill you in your dreams. If I tell you much more than that, then it'll really spoil it for you, you know? Most people have seen it, but there may be a few who haven't seen it, so if you haven't, then I don't want to spoil it, you know? One thing I really liked about the film was that it switched the protagonist very early on. You originally think it's going to be the character named Tina, but then it becomes, so instead it follows Nancy. Also, you have Johnny Depp in this film, who is really cool. But enough about that, so I'd really like to actually just get focused on the film now. So I wouldn't really say that the film is exactly scary, in a sense. There was a few genuine scary moments in the film, but a lot of it was just creepy and uneasy and just unpleasant in the sense that there was just a weird atmosphere throughout. The fact that Freddy Krueger can get you in your most vulnerable state, which is when you're asleep, is really not a pleasant thought. Also the fact that you don't really ever know whether you're dreaming or not, whether the character is awake or whether they're actually within a dream at the time, really keeps you on edge and keeps you questioning what's really happening. So overall, I feel like the acting in this film, I don't really have any complaints about it. It's good. There's nothing really stand out other than the fact that there's Johnny Depp, which, because you know who he is, that stands out. But the only real big standout performance is Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, who does an unbelievable job. He really adds a whole lot of personality to the character and keeps things interesting, and it really makes it much more memorable, the way he plays him. One thing I didn't really quite get to mention earlier about the fact that they switched protagonists was that I see a lot of similarities between that and the film Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. I know that's probably a pretty easy comparison and a very loose comparison, but I see it. There's one scene in the beginning of the film where Freddy Krueger is chasing after a character, and you see his arms and he's just like flailing like this, and it looks really stupid. That's the part I started laughing real hard during that scene. The really cool thing about Freddy Krueger, as opposed to some of the horror movie characters of the day, is that unlike someone like Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, who have their face covered and they're silent, you can't hear them, you don't see them, you don't really know who they are, much about them, they hide in the shadows a lot. With Freddy Krueger, he'll jump the hell out at you and go. That was a terrible impression. Impressions aren't really my specialty. I feel like the coolest scene in the movie is where Johnny Depp's character, Glenn, is in bed and he gets sucked into the bed by Freddy Krueger, and then like buckets of blood shoot out at the top. It was so cool. I really liked it. One thing that's really famous about that scene that I always hear about is that the way they shot it. So what they did was they took a model of the set and turned it upside down and had the blood shoot out to make it look like it was shooting up instead of, shooting down. So it was actually really cool when you think about it, and it looks really well. It's a really good practical effect. Also, I feel like I have to note the soundtrack of this film, which comprised of a lot of synthesizer music, which was really cool. I really liked that. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really cool way to keep it unique, because I feel like with a lot of other similar movies, you'd have a lot of, not classical music, but a lot less of this very contemporary at the time, music that was very popular. Well, some people might say that makes the film seem very dated. I think it adds a lot of charm. Now, I do know that a lot of the sequels to this film, some of them are good and some of them are really, really bad, but I will get around to watching them as part of this project. Honestly, it's becoming really hard to say much about this film because it's really good and I don't have many complaints, and everyone's seen it. I'm just the one idiot who hadn't seen it yet. So overall, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And if you're someone who likes horror films, then you've probably already seen this, but if you haven't seen it, then it is an absolute watch. And even if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check it out because there's not very many jump scares, it's not super scary, it's still just a very cool experience overall. So what am I going to watch tomorrow? I'll be honest, I haven't actually decided yet what I'm going to watch tomorrow. I have 4 choices. I've got Starship Troopers, Female Trouble, Mid-90s, and Some Like It Hot. So I'll decide between one of those sometime before I watch it tomorrow, but If you are watching and just want to give a comment saying which one you think I should watch more, then please do. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. In the description, I have all sorts of different stuff. I've got my Letterboxd, the Letterboxd review for this film, my friend Isaac Taylor's YouTube channel, and his Letterboxd. He's a really cool guy, and he's doing the same sort of reviews as me. I've also got my Dutch friend, who has a really cool Letterboxd account. He's watched almost 2,000 films, and he's much smarter than me about films, so check him out as well. And then also check out Avant-Garde Criminal, who does my thumbnails for me. He's a really awesome guy, and you should definitely go support him. So this has been Ryan from Ryan Reviews. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.